Well, I was in 8th, okay?
That was the third.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about solving the problem vowels that we see right here. Small description here. We're going to count the number of vowels, A, E, I, O, or U, in a user-entered string. Y is not counting as a vowel for this problem, but we do need to make sure that we worry about uppercase and lowercase vowels. Okay, so we're going to do that problem, and we're going to have to use string methods. So let's go ahead and look at some string methods. So we were just looking at that a second ago. So this is the string API. It tells you basically Oracle's way of describing how to use strings. And what I like to do is just skip to the method summary and just see like what kind of things that we would be looking for. So char at tells us that we can return the char value at the specified index. So that sounds pretty good because I want to look at each particular character in the string. So that seems like something that would be helpful for this. But there's just a bunch of other string methods that we could use, right? So we could say like, does this string equal a different string? Can I take the string? This is another maybe what I would do, let's see, oh, I missed it. One of these guys, like toChar array, is that in here? What's going on here? Oh yeah, here it is right here, toChar array. Okay, so if I took a string and I split it into a char array, that's another method that I could use for this particular problem because I want to look at each character in the string. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to go back to this. Okay, and then we're going to go over here. So here's a different project that I'm working on, and we're going to call this thing vowels. And we want that to have a main method. So here we go. Clean that up a little bit. So for pretty much all of these problems, we're going to start out by creating a scanner. All right, and then, like I said the other day, I always forget to close the scanner, so I'm just going to put that in right away. That after I'm done using the scanner, I want to close it. Yep. So inside of there, we want to basically ask the user for the string that we're going to count the vowels of. So we're going to go ahead and say enter some text. And then we're going to get the text by doing input.nextLine. All right? So whatever text they enter, we're calling it text. Okay? And then what we want to do is we want to basically loop through the text, okay, and count the vowels that we find in there. All right? So let's just say, for example, that text equals I love my mommy. I know, it's nice, right? So what we should understand about this is that those are indexed. Those characters in there are indexed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then now I start getting into like, 10, 11, but I kind of ran out of room here. So I'm going to go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And this is a 16 character long string. Okay? So I don't know exactly how to put that in here, but we're going to do this. Oops. Oh, look at that. That worked out perfect. This is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Does that make sense? So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 for the indexes. Is that okay the way I'm looking at that? Alrighty. So What we want to do is we want to loop through the indexes of this text and count the characters. Okay, so far? We're going to count the characters, so that means that we probably want to create a variable to count. Okay, or maybe I want to be a little more descriptive and call that vowel count. And before I start counting vowels, my vowel count should start at 0. Alright. What we're going to do is we're going to pull a character out of that piece of text. So I'm going to call that current character or current char. Okay? But I don't have a value for it, so I'm just going to declare it and not give it a value. Okay? What kind of a loop do you want to use to go through text? You want to use a for loop? Do you want to use a while loop? What do you want to use? For loop sounds good. Okay, so if we use a for loop, then we're going to go ahead and create an index variable. And we want the index to be less than the number of elements in this string. Okay, so this has indices 0 through 15, so we want this to be less than 16, right? However, we don't know that this is the text that we're definitely going to enter, right? So we want to say that this is going to be less than text.length, and that's another string method. And then inside of here we want index to equal index plus 1. So I'm just going to close that, make this a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so what's the first thing that I want to do inside of this loop? So basically the idea here is like I want to look at this and I want to say, let's take a look at I. Is I a vowel? Yes, it is. Increase vowel count. Let's look at space. Is space a vowel? No, it's not. Let's look at L. Is L a vowel? No, it's not. Let's look at O. Is O a vowel? Yes, it is. Okay, so increase vowel count. All right, so I only want to increase the vowel count when I reach a vowel, but I want to look through every character in this thing so I make sure I don't miss a particular character. Okay? Say it one more time. We're not including Y. No. Okay? So what's the first thing I want to do in this loop? So the loop is going to go through each and every one of them, right? So the index starts at 0. So that's going to say start here. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is go to 1 because of index equal to index plus 1. So 0 plus 1 equals 1. That's my new value of index. Then it'll go to 2, then it'll go to 3, then it'll go to 4. What do I want to do at each of those indexes? Determine whether what is a vowel or not. The letter. Okay? So we got to use one of these string methods to figure out the particular character. Okay? So a nice way of using this website, okay, is when you look at a method, you determine like what is it that I'm looking for. Okay? And then look over here at the return types on the left-hand side and kind of limit your choices to figure out what's going on, which one I want to use. Okay? So you can say like, well, I know that I need a string. Okay? So I'm going to look at all the ones that have string in them, that return a string, and that'll help me figure out what I want. Okay? Another way of attacking this is to say, what am I, like, am I using one of these variables that I already created? Am I using one of these variables to keep track of that particular character? Which one am I using? Current char, okay? And current char is going to get its value from the text that they entered, right? So just look at what I'm doing here for a second, okay? We're going to say current char should equal text dot something. okay? And then what Eclipse does is it figures out for you that this thing over here is a char, so this thing over here should be a char as well, all right? And it figures out that this is the only method inside of the string class that gives us back a char at, okay? So I want to use char at, and how am I going to tell it which char I want? Give it index, right? That's why we created index, okay? So when index is 4, right, text.char at index, when index is 4, is going to give me this v. So current char is going to be v in that case, right? When index is 0, text.char at 0 is going to give me what? Capital I. Good. All right. So, so that's giving us the current char, and what do I want to do with that? Say what? See if it's a vowel. Okay, see if it's a vowel. All right, so one way that we could do this is we could say if current char equals a, right? Or current char equals a, or, you know, and this, but honestly, like, that gets a little bit long and it's not really nice, okay? So there's a couple different things that we could do here, but maybe the easiest thing to do is to use that thing that we learned in our last project, which is to use a switch, okay? So if we do a switch on current char, then what we can do is we can talk about all the different cases in which we want to add 1 to vowel count, okay? And so basically we're going to say like case A, case A, case E. So I don't know, is it, it's not like a ton better, but it's a little bit better than what we were doing before. All right. So basically, what this is doing is kind of like what we just talked about with an if. It's saying check if current char is an A, and when we stack these cases on the top of each other, it's basically saying like if any one of these things is true, if it's an A or a capital A or any one of these values, then we're going to do this thing that we're saying inside of here. Okay? So I don't know if that's really like the very best way of doing it, but it is a way of doing it. And then what we want to do in that case is we want to increase vowel count to be whatever vowel count was plus 1. All right? Since this is the only thing that we want, we don't need to have this break, but it's good to put in a break after you're done with whatever you want inside of those cases. Okay? All right, and then after we're done with that switch, then we want to say something like text has vowel count vowels. And that's maybe even more fancy than you need it to be, but like you could just output vowel count and feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check this. Let's determine what we should get if we do I love my mommy. So 1, 2, 3, 4 vowels in I love my mommy because we're not including Y's. I love my mommy has 4 vowels. Yes! So that worked for me. If you want to get a little more fancy, we'll just learn some extra stuff in here. So we could say that we want the text to be in quotes so they know what you entered. If we wanted that to be inside of quotes, then we could go like this. This character is called like an escape character. So some characters, like quotes, mean something to the language, right? So you can't just put a quote anywhere you want. So if you want a quote in your output, then you have to do a / quote to get that quote character. So here we have a quote, then the text, then another quote, space has blah blah blah. Okay, so, and I love my daddy too. So then we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that sucker, 7 vowels, and then we see those quotes in there as well.